Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks to everyone who's joined us for our second Zoom all-campus meeting. We're trying to keep everybody up to date on what's happening throughout the state of Louisiana in higher ed, LSU system, and LSUA. So we're going to keep trying to come back to you with all-campus meetings as long as we need to do it to keep you informed. We first want to thank all the faculty and staff for the great job that you're doing. The disruption we've had to adjust to has been amazing, and you've been amazing as well. So for the students, everybody's going the extra mile, and we want to thank you for that. And we're looking to get as many of our students through the semester and to our graduation class as well. So thanks again for your patience, your concern, your care. And we're trying to do everything we can to help students as you are, both financially and giving them as many breaks as we can. We're covering testing fees, we're refunding housing refunds and meal plans, and doing quite a few things to help our students. It's an unprecedented, challenging time, and we've all pulled together, and I want to thank you for that. We've been meeting with the LSUA COVID-19 task force twice a week. The cabinet's meeting every week. And we're trying to plan ahead for what we anticipate will be a phased, slow reopening of some of the activities in the state, the businesses, some of the restrictions. But until the governor speaks today, all we know is what he's hinted in some of his comments. Reopening some of the restaurants with social distancing, with less capacity, maybe increasing the number of groups from 10 to something larger. So we're not sure exactly what's going to be the details. We're all going to be watching the news conference today because it will have implications on higher education as well, and the classroom teaching and what we do at moving forward. So stay tuned. Today could be a big day on what that beginning of the phased in reopening will be. We're continuing to register students to market our campus, to do as much as we can to get the word out about LSUA continuing to function, continue to be effective, high quality education, very affordable. The affordability of our LSUA campus is really coming into the limelight right now because of the financial crisis so many people are facing. A lot of people are unemployed. There'll be a lot of people struggling with paying bills, and the quality, high quality of the education we offer and its affordability, which has really been recognized nationwide, particularly our online programs and our in the classroom tuition and fees. You know, we're in the top in the country, and this is a good time for students to be looking at that affordability because it is an important issue. Our number one goal continues to be the success of our students. Abby's going to talk a little bit more detail, but we are going to have a virtual commencement to celebrate with these graduates. They're a special class. You know, when Katrina hit, you know, everything was disrupted in New Orleans, and they called it the Katrina graduating class. I guess this will be our COVID-19 graduating class, but it's the hurdles they've had to jump and we've had to jump are unbelievable, but it's a special class, and it had to be resilient to a degree beyond anything we've ever had to do. So we do thank our students and our faculty and staff. We have 5 students that have tested positive. They're self-reported. None have been hospitalized. All are recovering or are fully recovered. So we've been very fortunate. We also have students with family members who have been ill and have had to deal with immediate families being sick at home. And we've had students with family that have passed away because of the virus. So it's impacted our campus. And our hearts and our prayers go out to all of these families who have had to deal with these major challenges. But we continue to move forward and be positive and check back on them as much as we can. We've been having LSU Leadership Meetings with Interim President Tom Galligan and the other chancellors. What they're talking about now is what will we do this fall. We're hoping we can have students back in the classroom. What that will look like, we do not know yet. The challenge will be some of the real larger classes like at LSU or other universities. They have 80, 100, 200 students in a classroom. They may have to continue online. We don't know, but smaller classes may be allowed if they socially spacing. And we're hoping that our students will be able to come back safely, but we're not sure exactly what that'll look like. But the plan for reopening and coming back is something that we're beginning to develop now. That would be the reopening of the library, our computer labs, hopefully under certain conditions, our child care center, and the administrative offices hopefully would be able to open up, and our faculty would be able to come to work if they wanted to come. But we're developing that plan based on what the governor is going to start phasing in the reopening today. It'll probably go into the summer, and I think LSU's system was smart in staying with online this summer, because here we are, May's coming in the next couple of days, and we still hadn't begun the reopening of our state. We've had to turn in 2 budget constraint scenarios. We've done that. We're hopeful that there won't be any major budget cuts, but you know as well as I do, oil and gas severance taxes are significantly down, sales taxes are down, corporate taxes are down. So we have to be prudent, and we're developing what could be, and hopefully will not be, but could be a reality in terms of budget cuts. And we're hoping that it will be minimal, and but we are preparing for that in case it happens. Darren will probably go over a little bit the CARES Act. There was some federal funding for higher education in the CARES Act to help with the recovery of COVID-19. Higher ed got $14 billion nationwide. Each university is getting an allocation, one for students, one for the university. It's based on a formula they developed, primarily looking at full-time on-campus students and those on Pell Grants. So we got about $1 million for students that we will be distributing hopefully soon. We don't have the funding yet in our account, but some universities have received their student funding last week. We have not received ours yet, but we're expecting to. And it'll be about $1 million, and we're going to try to develop a plan that hopefully distributes the funds to our campus students, primarily focusing on the needs, families that have critical needs the most. Stay tuned for that. And the campus side of it, we have no guidance on what that'll be, the funding to support the campus. That could be something that'll help offset budget cuts. So we're hopeful that there won't be so much of a tight rein on those dollars that could help us through this year of tough times in Louisiana. But until we get the guidance, we will not know. So we're waiting to get that guidance and those funds. They haven't been given to us as well. LSU, as many of you have read the articles, they've converted the PMAC into a manufacturing facility to help build vinyl gowns for healthcare professionals on the front line. We may be getting into helping with that on a much smaller scale here at LSUA. There's a critical need in Central Louisiana for gowns. There's a shortage. So we may, for a few weeks, get involved in helping to manufacture those in the ballroom, but that's still being developed. But we're hopeful that we can help our healthcare professionals in Central Louisiana. The student Zoom conference last week went well. We're going to try to continue to have conferences with students and with our faculty and staff like we're doing today. I do want to compliment the College of Business and all of the departments, but the College of Business is really trying to help with the recovery. Our businesses are going to be struggling for a long time, and Dr. Randall DuPont, the dean of the college has put together a new economic dashboard for CINLAW. It's been very well received. And I want to compliment the faculty and Dr. DuPont for helping our business community deal with the unprecedented challenges they're dealing with right now. We have multiple, as I mentioned earlier, multiple programs that have received national recognition recently for quality and affordability, online programs. Because we're online now, that's a pretty significant recognition, and I want to congratulate everyone for working hard to convert our programs to online format. It really has helped us, I think, in our recruiting, and so far our registration numbers have looked really good. We were hoping they would not decline, and they have not yet at all, so thank God for that. I'm going to stop there. If you have any questions, Dr. John Rowan has agreed to field the questions and transfer them to us if whoever needs to answer them at the end of the program. And I'm going to turn it over to John for the next presentation. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Last week of classes, and next week is final exam week. We are going to get through this, and it's thanks to all of you. Few things I just want to touch on. Number one, I think you're familiar now that students are being given a different option for grading for the semester. It's the pass withdraw option. And faculty, what you'll do is enter the letter grade regardless. That's the option you will have before you. And if for students who have chosen the PW option, the change will be made on the back end so that students who earned an A, B, or C, that will be converted to a P, a pass, on the transcript for students who have chosen that option. If the student earns a D or an F in the class, that will be converted to a W, and they will effectively be withdrawn. What I'd like everyone to do, advisors, faculty, and those in the Center for Student Success, please continue to be responsive to students who are reaching out and trying to get some advice about whether they should go for that option in certain classes. The portal for selecting that will be open through 5 p.m. this Friday, May 1st. So they have the next few days to make that call. So that's item one. Number two, summer courses, as you know by now, are all going to be online. The good news is that we will probably, as a university, be able to pay for the proctoring of tests and exams, much like we've done for the last few weeks of this semester. What we need from faculty, though, is to once again, please be very flexible when it comes to the proctoring options. So you probably know that the Proctorio lockdown option, browser lockdown, that doesn't cost anything for us. If you need to have a Zoom or a webcam, then ProctorU will be used, but the review and record option is a lot less expensive for us than the full deal. So faculty, I will probably be reaching out to you again, maybe through the department chairs this time, so that we know ahead of time what kinds of proctoring options you're going to use and how much that might be, because we need to guarantee that we can afford this. I think we can, but once again, we need your help. Third, you're going to hear about commencement coming up. I feel so bad for these students who are not going to be able to walk across the stage in a couple of weeks. They will have the opportunity to walk in December, but for this time around, it's kind of a blow. And what I would like to do in the virtual commencement we will be recording, my job, among other things, is to once again say their names. And I would like to say them correctly. I just hate the thought of students who are graduating who, again, won't have a full commencement, to have their name pronounced incorrectly by the provost. So I'm calling on everyone, if you know students whose names are somewhat tricky And what counts as tricky for me is probably more than you would think. So please share with me the pronunciations of anyone whose names you think you might need to know about. I want to get them right. Absolutely. Fourth item, Scholar Day. We are going to have our Scholar Day. And thanks to Sandy Gilliland for coordinating that and for changing things up on the fly so that we have a virtual event. It's this Friday, May 1st. Tomorrow, there will be a technological run-through because all of this is being done through Zoom. So faculty who are mentors, you might want to hop on to that run-through tomorrow and join your student and make sure that everything is running smoothly so that when Friday comes, we don't have any glitches. And I'm really thrilled to be able to say that the academic departments, you met my challenge, and every department is going to have students presenting this Friday at Scholar Day. That's a tremendous accomplishment. And when we market this, when we talk about some of the great things that LSUA is doing, just having this event in the midst of everything that's going on, that really says something about us. But to have every department have students presenting, that's just tremendous. So thank you all for that. When anyone wants to get in touch with me, I say this at the all faculty meetings. I want to say it at the all campus meetings. Always a good idea to copy Mona on the message. That's Lamona Wallace. She keeps me in line. So depending on the type of message, I encourage you to copy Mona on that. And I want to tell all of you what I told the department chairs at our meeting last week. I'm just so impressed. I'm in awe, really, of everything that you're doing, that you're continuing to do to help our students through to the end of the semester and help our graduating students through so that they can earn their degree. I can say thank you multiple times. It doesn't capture how I really feel. I will say thank you. I'm just so impressed. And I'm going to ask you to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administrative Services, Darren Thaxton.
Hi, good morning all. I would say it's nice to see everyone, but I guess it's nice to see everyone's name on the screen. It does look like we have quite a few of you joined in, and we sure appreciate that. I don't have a lot of updates, so I will be brief. A few things just to talk through, a couple of follow-ups to Dr. Carell's items. We have received or have been awarded just under $1 million from the CARE Stimulus Act that will go directly to students. We will have a second $1 million come in that goes toward institution reimbursable costs, anything related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The student portion, that $1 million, we are hoping to receive this week. I know some universities began receiving theirs last Thursday and Friday. I think it was a lot of the community colleges, two-year schools, and we're hopeful that ours will come in this week. We do have a plan in place for that to go out to students. It goes to any student who is eligible to receive Title IV funding from the Department of Ed. That's primarily students, anyone that's eligible to submit a FAFSA, essentially. It does rule out international students, and it also rules out students who were already in a 100% online program toward the end of March. So it will go to students in our on-campus programs, and we do have a formula for how that's distributed among those. It goes mostly to, or those that receive Pell or federal funding will receive more than those who do not. The institutional portion, we have not received that either. It will be probably a few weeks before that comes in, and we have not yet received full guidelines on that portion of it. We do know that it is eligible to be used towards any expense that we've incurred in moving online. That does include testing, and that's what Dr. Rowing was referring to when he said he thought that the summer proctoring would be covered by the institution, and we are planning to use some of those CARES dollars to offset the cost of proctoring for the spring and the summer as well. Dr. Krell also mentioned we are going through some budget reduction scenarios for state appropriations. We're looking at both a 5 and 10% reduction of state dollars. For us, that equates to approximately $268,000 for the 5% and $536,000 for the 10%. So either way, you can see it is a significant, it would be a significant reduction for us, being that our margins are so tight as it is. One of the hopes there, and I will say it is a hope at this point, we're unsure, is that some of the federal dollars will potentially help offset any reduction in state dollars next year. So we're hoping that the effect would be essentially net zero, but we do not know that at all at this point. No, we are certainly planning for a reduction in state appropriations going into next year. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a little more clarity on what that looks like. But in the meantime, we must continue to plan in that direction. I mentioned last time that we were implementing new cashiering software for students who pay online or students who register. That is now active. It went live last Thursday. CashNet, it replaced Fax Nailnet for payment plans. This will allow us to be much more flexible in the payment plan options that we offer, and will also allow us to offer payment plans for students in 100% online programs. We have not been able to do that in the past. It's been a pay in full essentially for those 7-week sessions, and we are now able to offer payment plans to those students. Right now it is turned on for summer. Like I said, it was turned on last Thursday. I think so far, just in the past couple of days or over the weekend, we've had $40,000 in transactions come through. So it is working. Students are using it, and we will roll out the fall portion of that within the upcoming weeks. So students will be able to do that for fall as well. One piece of it that has been a true need is for our international students. We've had very limited payment options for those, especially if they're trying to use a foreign bank. Beginning with fall, whenever we turn on the payment plans for fall, they will be able to use a service called Flywire and be able to use their international bank, their international credit cards to set up payment plans and to make payments. So that should be a huge relief for our international students, and not have to try to get a bank account set up in town within the first few days of being on campus. A couple of other just house cleaning items. The facility services remains open with a limited staff. They are keeping the grounds up, the grass mowed, buildings clean, things of that nature. Kevin and his crew have done an excellent job of keeping campus looking very nice, even through the closures over the past few weeks. We did have a tornado that came just on the south side of campus last week. Most of the effects were felt by the Ag Center. Some of their buildings are pretty devastated, especially in their back diagnostic labs, and some of those are completely destroyed. Thankfully, LSUA fared very well. About 100 yards to the north, and it could have been very bad. It came in just south of the Oaks. Daniel, Manuel, and others, a lot of the RAs and our police officers had the students down on the first floor, had them sheltering in place, and thankfully no one was hurt, no injuries, and very little damage to buildings. We have a few minor things here and there that we're already getting taken care of, but we fared very well through the storm. The mailroom remains open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 3. That will continue until we open back up. If your department is receiving anything or is expecting anything, you can go in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the mailroom. The last item on my list, and Dr. Corello has already mentioned it as well, we are working with LSU on the potential creation or manufacturing of PPE equipment for the local healthcare entities, hospitals, nursing homes, things of that nature. They will actually be on campus today after this call to look at how we go through that process, the ins and outs, what our projected limits can be in terms of how many we can turn out a day and things like that. So you will see more information on that over the next coming days. Hopefully, we are still working on the funding side of it. It looks to be that it will be state funded. That's how LSU is working through the PMAC, and we are hoping to utilize those same channels in order to manufacture PPE here on campus. And with that, I believe those are all my updates. If you do have any questions, please reach out anytime, and I will turn it over to Dr. Bain.
Hey, Generals. Thanks for joining us this morning. Like you've heard, we did have a tornado come really close to campus. We're very thankful that we did not have any injuries, but our 40 students that were still living on campus were uprooted because we did lose power and water as a result of the storm. So if going through an international pandemic wasn't enough, we had that to add some excitement to the week. But I'm so appreciative of the quick reaction of Chief Collins and of Daniel, of course, our Director of Res Life, Michael Corson, and our community. We were able to get our students by noon. They were at the Bentley having a catered lunch, and they were able to sleep like royalty that night. We were able to get them back on campus just the next day. CLECO worked very hard to restore power, and so we are glad to have them back. But thanks to all of our community partners for helping with food and shelter when certainly our students needed it the most. And it continues to be an adventure for all of us. I also want to say thank you to all of the faculty who have continued to use the LSUA CARES platform. I encourage you to continue to use that to refer students who you may be worried about if they've been active and then they fall off their engagement in Moodle, or maybe they've shared a crisis that they're going through. We're able to follow up with them through our counselors, or Catherine Kent, the office manager for our division, has just been an all-star helping. So thank you to Catherine. But we really want to be reaching out to students who need us the most. And we can't do that without knowing that they need us. So thank you to the faculty who have really been submitting those names. And let's remember to use that even when life gets back to normal, hopefully sooner than later. Advising is still ongoing. Just an update on registration and numbers. We are, like the Chancellor mentioned, we're looking good for overall enrollment. We're up almost 150 students from day to day last year, but the vast majority of those students are online students. So we really want to encourage our continuing students who have been the traditional students in our classrooms, now online, to register. We are down about 50 students in our continuing. So we really want to encourage those who have been with us that they can continue to persevere and that we're in this together. Jerry in the registrar's office has been great at continuously sending messages to those who have not registered. So we'll continue with that communication. But our faculty advisors, once again, I'll echo what the provost said. Thank you for being available, for being responsive. That is so important to students right now since they cannot see us face to face. So when they send an email or a meeting request, the more proactive and reactive we can be to them, it's so important to their self-efficacy and really believing that they should be here and that they can continue. For our new freshman class coming in for fall 2020, we're looking really good. We are up in registration for those students. Really almost 50 students for new freshmen have already enrolled compared to this time last year, and we're contributing that to most likely they're out of high school, so they're thinking about next steps. But the fact that they are thinking and that they're excited to come is great. So shout out to Shelly and her team. They're continuing to be creative and reach out to prospective students. For those of you that are involved in the community or in your neighborhoods, if you know of students wondering what to do in their next phase of life, their next chapter, please encourage them that if they want to talk to an admissions counselor, they can do that via Zoom. Since the last time we've talked through the all-campus meeting, we have had an update through the Board of Regents in admission standards. So we are able to be flexible with students and expand access to the co-requisite model for math and for English. We had a great meeting with Shelley and the provost, Dr. Ponder and Dr. Wilson, to explore what that means for us moving forward, and the advisors are aware. So once again, if prospective students have questions, get them to Shelley, get them to Caitlin, or even myself, and we can let them know how we can work with them and hopefully serve them to get them here in the fall. We're continuing with residential life. We will have a few students staying over the summer, and that is good. We want them to have a safe place. We have updated some of the costs to the rooms. We are putting a priority on, we've lowered the rate for private rooms. We expect that will be a desirable room type moving forward, especially under these certain circumstances that we're navigating. So visit the website if students have questions on costs. We're trying to encourage students to take a private room if possible. And we're also really looking to expand the RA staff. We've had some students graduating, and we need to rebuild that. With students not on campus, it's a little bit more difficult to recruit and share that. So for faculty and staff that work with our students, if you have some students who are looking for a leadership opportunity, it is paid, and they get a wide range of experiences that is really going to help them to be a student here, but as a graduate, and make them desirable to employers down the road. Please let us know. You can email reslife@LSUA if you have any students to recommend, and we can give them a call, see if they would be interested. But we really want a strong staff. We are more confident in the experience of the Oaks than ever before, but we can't do it without students to help. So if you have any recommendations, we encourage those to come in. And we've also been working on a new student relief fund with our foundation. And when I say we, I specifically mean Sharif Axon and Melinda Anderson, and they've just been including me on emails. So I really appreciate their hard work to make this happen. We have had a donor put money down already to start. We're hoping that it gets a lot more. But what we're recognizing is it's not just COVID-19, but we've had tornadoes come through different parts of the state and really devastate students' lives. We've had students go through floods in the past and different life experiences where they really need financial assistance. And we would love to have the opportunity for them to apply for funds, have a committee review, and have some relief there. So this is very much in the building phase. We are exploring what other schools are doing, exploring what would work best for our foundation and our institution. But I did want to mention that is something that has come out of this, and I'm thankful for the foundation for their willingness to start this for our students. It will be very helpful. We've mentioned commencement a few times. We're excited to still have some sort of celebration. We know students have worked very hard. We'll have that May 14th. It will be released. We have sent save the date cards and a confetti popper to all of our grads to get excited and prepare for the virtual ceremony. I'm very thankful for Laura Fowler and Chancey Slider and Jerry and Liz Johnson have all really helped to make this a special occasion, a special event. And I hope students feel that. I hope that they see the effort and the heart and spirit that LSUA is working to instill. We are so sorry for the circumstance, but we want to make it as best as possible. So we hope that we can celebrate now and then have them walk in December. If any of our graduates reach out and have questions, they will get mailed their diploma and their diploma cover, their honors cords, and a few of the programs that we're having printed. Late May, early June is when they will get those all in the mail in one box. So if they're curious about their diplomas or if they get the pretty diploma cover, it's coming. It will be there this summer. But any questions, feel free to direct to me or Jerry Weston, and we're happy to follow up with them. Just one last reminder, as students are going through this very unprecedented and just challenging time, we have counseling services available via text or Zoom or phone call. So please let students know, even though we are not in person on campus, our services still remain, and we very much want to make sure that we are supporting them when they need it. And if you have any ideas, if you are seeing anything from your alma mater or from other schools that you think would be helpful to support students, please let me know. Email me, give me a call, and I would love to hear more and see how we can also get creative, continue to get more creative and more inventive in how we're serving students. Those are my updates. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to a student, our student government president for a little bit longer, Ricky Brazel.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well out there today. I want to thank everyone for their time and commitment through this unprecedented time. I'm incredibly proud to see all the media surrounding LSUA right now, from the administration to the faculty, staff, and the students. It makes me incredibly proud to call myself a general. Thank you specifically to Dr. Bain and Dr. Carell for and everyone else who helped to transport those students to safety to the Hotel Bentley. Thank you to the RAs. That really does mean a lot to us as students, showing how much you do care for us, especially from an international student. I know I've heard stories about how much that meant to them. I've also been hearing some absolutely amazing stories from students regarding faculty and how flexible they've been, how understanding they've been, and quick and responsive, and emails, and that means the world to us as students trying to go through our academic career, and especially during this time. And to say everyone, you've kept students first in mind, and that's why this university is downright one of the best in the world. That means so much to us. And so thank you from student government, from me personally, from the students. And then lastly, a quick update since the last all-campus meeting that we had regarding elections. We have had elections. If you follow our social media, you might have been able to see we do have some new leadership in student government. We have 8 new senators coming in, which is absolutely amazing. We have a new secretary, Kylan Gilliam. We have a new treasurer in Devin DeVille, a new vice president in Rhonda Barr, and last but not least, a new president in Miss Monica Aguilera. So I'm excited for the future of student government. They're going to continue working hard for these students. I'm excited to see where they go, and it's been an honor serving. And so thank you once again to everyone.
John, before we go to questions, there's a couple of things that came to mind that I wanted to mention, then we'll open it up for questions. One is, I know some of you keep up with the details of state government. The legislature has not been in session. They've been like us, having to work from home, and virtually very little work has been done. Additionally, the Revenue Estimating Conference, which is the group of independent economic advisors with some legislative members as well, they estimate how much revenue we're going to have. Well, they have no idea, so they haven't met. They're going to have to come up with a number, though. And so until they meet, the legislature cannot pass a budget. So we're not sure what's going to happen. We think they're going to pass the continuing budget and just maintain the budget we had this year, and then come back and do a real budget in a special session when they know more about revenue. So everybody's scrambling in this revenue estimating to come up with some idea. But until the closure is lifted to some degree, the impact continues to accumulate. So I just wanted to make sure you know that. The second thing is Blake Chatelain will be presenting some comments and also be part of our virtual commencement. And we're very glad he agreed to do that. Blake's been a very strong supporter of our campus for many, many, many years. And we're glad he's agreed to be part of that celebration. Going back to the tornado, we have many of our Ag Center colleagues that are totally lost all their laboratory space. I mean, all the infrastructure is basically gone, including the DeWitt livestock show facility. It's totaled. But the lab facilities behind the evac center out in the field and on the east side was totally destroyed. Some of the scientists have reached out to us. Could we help them with some available laboratory space? And I want to compliment our biology department. They have offered to allow some of these scientists at the LSU Ag Center to use our labs. And they're so thankful for that. And I want to compliment Nate and Carol and the whole faculty there for offering that. The heroic work of the police and the RAs and Daniel and Residence Life, I just can't thank them enough. We were following this tornado since it was in Texas, it came across the Sabine River. And we were just concerned the whole time it was coming. And they had about 20 minutes or less warning that it was heading our way. And literally, I think Channel 5 started talking about it hitting LSUA and LSU Ag Center just a few minutes before it actually hit. Thank God they got the students at the bottom floor. And I want to thank them all for what they did. It could have been a devastation to our campus, and we could have seen injury or loss of life. May 13th, there will be a pinning ceremony for allied health and nursing. We're very excited about that. It'll be the day before we have the premiere of our virtual commencement. But the students that are going to get pinned, it'll be an online virtual celebration, and we're excited about Dr. Cormier and Dr. Jordan putting that together, and we're going to be part of that as well. The athletic department here at LSUA, I want to emphasize, they were shut down. They have virtually no athletic activities going on. They can't get together. They haven't been practicing, but they are recruiting, and they are doing a lot of community service. I know y'all saw Tink all over the community trying to help the first line workers in healthcare. And I want to compliment the athletic department for continuing to be engaged in the community. They're anxious to get back to having games and being able to compete. And we're hopeful that that'll happen. But I know losing the softball, baseball, not being able to go to the championship in basketball, and we're hopeful for soccer. And I know tennis was impacted as well. So we do want to reach out to them and thank them. The last thing I'll mention, this is the 60th anniversary, as you can see behind me in this slide. We're still celebrating that, and we still want to recognize our graduates as being the first graduating class of the 60th anniversary. So there's some new exciting things that are going to happen. We're hopeful that this fall we'll be able to continue with some face-to-face celebrations, but we're going to continue with online recognition of our 60th anniversary. We have an amazing team, and I want to thank you all for the hard work you're doing. It just amazes me every day. I'm so proud to be part of it. And thank you for helping our students and our community. So that's it, John.
All right, so we have a few questions that have come in. A reminder that if you do have any questions, there is the Q&A option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So let's take a few of these. One question is about faculty who have online only courses and the proctoring options. And in short, regardless of whether it's an online only course or a face-to-face course that we had to convert this summer to the online format, we are asking you to be as flexible as possible. So even though ProctorU might have been part of the course, the online course you developed, if there's a way to use the lockdown browser, that would certainly help as we try very hard to find ways of helping students so that they don't have to pay for the proctoring costs. So I hope that answers that question. Are there computers on campus available for students to take final exams? Right now, no. There are no computer labs that are open. The testing center is not open. We are trying to err on the side of caution. And at this point, the students would need to take finals in whatever way they've been taking exams for the last couple of weeks. And as I go through these, a lot of these I can at least answer partly, if not fully. I'll ask my colleagues whom you heard from to go ahead and just chime in. With the technology requests, thanks to Eamon Halpin, who worked with the department chairs to get a sense of what we could ask for. Technology requests have gone to the Board of Regents. That was pretty recent, and I have not heard anything. I don't know if Darren Thaxton has heard anything or if Eamon has, but Darren?
I have not. There have been no updates. We did, we put in our request for higher than what we felt that our need would truly be, but we've not received any feedback yet from the Board of Regents, or at least not to my knowledge. There is another question. Are the 5% and 10% budget cut scenarios for this or next fiscal year? And do you anticipate any budget cuts this fiscal year beyond the hiring freeze? The 5% and the 10% scenarios are for next fiscal year that would begin July 1st. As of today, we don't know of any budget cuts for this year. However, it is certainly a possibility. There have been many years in the past where we've got to mid-June, the end of June, or even July after the end of the fiscal year and received a budget cut from the state. While there's, like I said, we've had no indication of that, it is a possibility. Do we anticipate any budget cuts this fiscal year beyond the hiring freeze? Again, at this time, no. The email that the chancellor sent out, that Dr. Krell sent out a while back, outlining the budget freeze, the hiring freeze, did indicate to be very cautious in any spending. And we do want to certainly follow that from now until the end of the year to only purchase those items that are critical to operations. We tend to focus on the bad side of this virus and what's happening now, but from a financial standpoint, there has been an upside. We have realized some savings across multiple areas being closed. We've had some expenditures that have been canceled or not needed. So at this point in this year, relatively speaking, we're in a good position to close out this year. Having said that, like I just mentioned, we do ask that you continue to be cautious and prudent with any spending between now and June 30th.
John, the only thing I'll add to that is we had a $500 million surplus, if you recall, last year before COVID-19. And I'm just reading, but I've read that the state's already spent about $650 million in responding to COVID-19. So the surplus is gone. And that'll have an impact on how the governor will deal with this year's budget and next year's budget. But that's just one of the facts that we need to be aware of.
This might be a question for Dr. Bain. Back to the students and the campus computers. If a student lives in the Oaks, are there any computers available there where a student might be able to take an exam?
So we have closed the Oaks Clubhouse just to, once again, keep with standards, what we're seeing with others in the system, and avoid groups gathering. If a student, we have had a few reach out, and we've been working with IT one-on-one. So if a student does not have computer access, if they can just reach out to us, we will try to work with them one-on-one. But the clubhouse right now is closed, which it does have a little computer lab in there, but it is not open. So once again, if there's a specific student, if you could just let me know, we'll certainly see what we can work out.
And this might be a question for anyone several of us in the group, it's about the long term. And given how transformational this event has been with COVID-19, what are any intermediate plans or long-term plans we as a university have going forward? I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that. I will say that it's been just about all we can do to make sure we keep up with the short term. And the goal, as I've said, has been getting students through to the end of this semester. I have no doubt that all of this will have brought about some changes in the way higher education operates generally and the way we're going to operate specifically. But I don't feel that I know exactly what those changes are yet. The summer might give us some time to work those out. Does anyone else want to chime in on that one?
The only thing I'll say, John, is some of the discussions about possibly testing faculty, staff, and students for antibodies is something that's being talked about going into the fall. Also, contact tracing. If someone gets the virus, looks like they're gonna be setting up a pretty extensive network where someone is infected, immediately do some contact tracing so they can control the spread as much as possible. I think we're going to hear more about that. I think that'll be part of our reality to some point. Wearing masks is being seriously talked about as well in dealing in close proximity with one another. And obviously the deep cleaning of the campus will continue. Wiping down surfaces will continue. Washing our hands will continue. And we'll be watching the research for a vaccine, no doubt. That's the long term, but maybe within the next year or so, some of this will help take care of itself if we could get a vaccine. But life will be different. There's no doubt about it. And each state's going to have a lot of flexibility, it appears, because Georgia's already, opened up tattoo parlors and hair salons. So you may travel from one state to another and it's going to be different in each state. Some states are letting the counties determine what they're going to do. In Texas, the counties have the flexibility of doing things larger than the state or more extensive and more conservative than the state. My son lives in Dallas and they're not opening up till May 15th. The rest of the state starting to open up this week. So it varies depending on the county. So John, you were right. It's a moving target. It's shifting sands. It's uncharted territory. So none of us have the answers, but we have to all pay attention to this new reality and make sure we use common sense. And number one priority is going to be the health and safety of our students, our faculty, and our staff, period. So that may carry us in the areas where we'll be more restrictive. I think we need to always be prepared for the possibility of having online classes in the fall. We do not know. We're hopeful we don't, but obviously we can't ignore the possibility or we wouldn't be very smart. So we're watching that. There may be a reoccurrence of the disease, of the virus, and that'll change everything. If people start getting sick again and being hospitalized, we could go back into a much tougher isolation period. So we're all learning as we go, and all of us are learning things we never thought we'd have to learn.
I'll add, just to add a little bit to that from an operational standpoint and long-term effects of this, whether we wanted to or not, when this crisis hit, it has forced us to doing a lot of our jobs, a lot of the tasks that we do every day in an entirely new way and look at everything from a different aspect. And we've been able to do that fairly quickly. It was pretty well overnight that we shifted operations from accounting, from budget, from financial aid to student records. Those services that you typically see as being an in-office, in-house service have shifted to online. Now, in some cases that's worked well, and it's left us with some ideas and changes that will certainly last long term. And in other ways, it's really made us look at how we do business and how we can better serve our students. And I think there will be a lot of good that come from this, that you will see some long-term changes. Just some of the things that we've done over the past few weeks to be more responsive, to be more helpful to students, albeit online. I think you will see some long-term effects of that. Another question on a lighter note: why hasn't Darren adapted a fancy background like Dr. Carell and Dr. Rowan? Well, on that note, I will give you this that I shared the other day. As I was sitting in a meeting, have myself come in and sit down in the background. So I have done that from time to time with all of these meetings, but for now, I will just stay with the regular background.
I always figured you were cloned. That scares me.
I can't compete with that, so I'm just going to move on. That was really something, a little scary too, I might say. Let's see. Should we drop students who have not attended since March 13th to proactively help those who we haven't heard from? If you haven't heard from them, I'm going to reiterate what Dr. Bain said, number one, and that you submit an LSUA cares. And hopefully we can follow up with the student. In terms of the dropping, I want to check with the Office of the Registrar and get back to you. And by the way, any questions that we don't get to or that we need to follow up on, we definitely will do so and get back to everybody. There's one question about the use of technology. Moodle, Turnitin, self-service. I myself, I put feelers out. I've heard very few issues with the technology. If there are any, do let us know. But what I've heard, and I'll again ask Darren to chime in, but what I've heard is really praise for the Office of Institutional Technology, Instructional Technology, that is. I thought that we would have a lot more glitches than we did. We had one or two early on. But Darren, do you want to say anything about the technology?
No, I mean, the comments that I have heard have been primarily positive. We have had a few issues here and there. I mean, no different than any other time. But I guess my comment would be, if you do receive any complaint, any student with issues, that if they're not able to access Moodle or Turnitin or any of those services, please reach out. Send to Jason and Kira and that group, or to me directly. If anything does come up, please let us know.
Yeah, don't assume that we know. If you come across something, make sure the information is sent forward. Question about whether we anticipate larger courses online for online only in the fall. I have to say, this is such a unique situation that it's, at least for me, very difficult to predict. We're going to have more online only students, that is, students in the online only programs. But that's because it's been growing anyway, and it continues to grow significantly. And that's thanks largely to the work of faculty who have been transitioning those courses. I don't know about labs at this point. What might be interesting is the on-campus courses. We're going to take a look and see if we might need to do a little bit of spacing or come up with alternative models where we have fewer students in a room rather than 100% capacity. We haven't started doing that yet, but I wish I knew more, but I don't want to speculate given that there are so many variables. Maybe this one is for the Chancellor. When LSUA reopens, will we have to be coordinated with the rest of the LSU system, or can we open on our own terms? I guess the question is how much autonomy we have when it comes to reopening.
I think The answer is yes and no. I think there are going to be some things we will coordinate together, but I think if you paid attention, LSU closed all their computer labs in the library and their child care center way before we did. So, and Shreveport and Eunice kept their computer labs open way beyond LSU. So I think the answer is we can be autonomous where it makes sense for our community and our students and the size of our campus. We're talking about two entirely different scenarios. LSU is a major 30,000 student campus, and they have a lot more resources, capabilities, flexibility that we do not have. And again, they're in the hot spot. Baton Rouge and New Orleans have had many more incidences of COVID-19 than we've had in this region. So I think things will be a little bit different for us. And I feel comfortable that with our team that we have, that we'll have some flexibility where we can make some decisions like we have been doing that are not in line with exactly what LSU does in Baton Rouge, where you have 250,000 people and you have 30,000 students, and it's a little different scenario for us. Here, a small campus in a rural community, I think will be an advantage for us because we're already kind of self-isolated, period, as a campus. A lot of people complain about LSUA being 6 miles south, and now I think we can brag about it being 6 miles south in terms of safety and health conscience and the number of students in our class, our faculty to student ratio, a lot of things. So we'll have some autonomy where it makes sense and where we're following the protocol the governor establishes for the whole state of Louisiana.
One thing about the testing, it's not surprising, I guess, when I think about it, that ProctorU is overbooked, really, with all the universities they work with. It's getting to be very difficult, especially at this time of year, as universities issue finals and start to close down their semester. It's getting very difficult for students to find an appointment. So to the extent possible, please do utilize the Proctorio Lockdown browser. Or the record and review actually would be another option. But the live proctoring, it's becoming very, very difficult to find appointments for students. I think we're just about up to date. I know there are a couple of things we want to get back to you about. Chancellor, do you have any concluding remarks?
The only thing that I'm not sure if we covered well enough, maybe we did. If a student does not have the capability to take exams because they have no computer or no internet capability, please contact Abby and we will work something out. We don't want a student to tell us at the end of the semester, I couldn't take my class, no one helped me, and that's why I failed. That's why I couldn't complete the course. We're here to set up a scenario to help you get access to the internet, to a computer, and we will do that. We do have the Wi-Fi hotspot here. I know you can't take a test in a vehicle, but we're going to try to accommodate anyone. So please, if you know a student, call Abby and we will work out something. And we'll continue to keep everybody up to date as much as we can. A lot's going to happen today. You'll need to watch the news because the governor will be making, I think, some pretty significant announcements about the reopening, phasing in. I think LSU, we will have conference calls this week. They're making plans, we're making plans. And I think we'll need to have another all-campus meeting probably sooner than later because there will be reopening, phasing plans developed over the next 7 or 8 days or sooner. And I know we're getting into exams and I know we're getting into the end of the semester, but it's important that everyone know really for their life at home with their families as well as the university, what will Louisiana, what will Rapides Parish, Central Louisiana look like in terms of some relaxing of the restrictions that we're living under right now. But I think the patience and care that you've exhibited has been amazing to me, and we thank you for that. That's it, John.
Okay, well, we are trying to make sure we communicate as much as possible about what's going on. As you can imagine, we don't always have all the answers. We try and stay very closely connected with Baton Rouge, with the state, with the system. Daniel Manuel has done an excellent job keeping us educated about some of the statistics and the numbers. So bottom line, please do not hesitate to contact us, not just with questions, but with information. And I'll repeat what I said a moment ago. Don't just assume that we know something you've come across. Sometimes you all have forwarded information that has proven very valuable. So with that, I'm going to, on behalf of the rest of us, wish you a great last week of classes, a great final exam week next week. And thank you all for continuing to do what you do to help our students. Have a great day.